Good evening. Welcome to the 2026 primary town hall debate here in beautiful Douglas County in Gardnerville at the Community Center. I am Renee Louie, CEO and Executive Director of the Business Council of Douglas County, and your proud moderator and host for 24 years. We are more than pleased with the first section of the debate. All of the candidates did an excellent job. It's a very hard proposal to come up and wait for questions you've never heard or seen and be ready and on your toes to speak genuinely about how you feel about those topics. We do encourage all of the folks attending or at home to please ask additional questions if they weren't asked tonight. Clearly, in a 1 hour period, we can't ask everything that was turned in. Be sure to ask those questions directly of your candidates so that you can make your vote being informed. The second half is Assembly District 39, and we're going to invite the candidates up, and we're going to kick it off. Gentlemen, take it away. Candidates, come on up.
We'll give them a little bit. Thank you guys for coming, and I appreciate it. And really appreciate RSVP and getting back with us on that and coming up here to debate here in this beautiful, I heard the frogs. Did you guys hear the frog? I'm like a squirrel. Yeah, I heard the frogs. So it's amazing setting. People are tired, but they're very interested in what you guys have to say. So thanks again for coming. And I am going to repeat the rules again, just to make sure that it's clear. So the format for the evening, once again, the ground rules have been reviewed by us, the moderators. Each candidate will be introduced and offer their opening remarks in order in which they drew the cards. Good old Nevada fashion. Each candidate will be given up to 1 minute in opening remarks. We will call on each candidate signaling for them to proceed with their opening. After each candidate has given their opening remarks, we will move into the first debate round. A pool of more than 50 questions we pulled was drawn from and narrowed down to about 8 to 10 questions. I think we're about 6 or 7. And the timekeeper right here, Denise, is amazing. She keeps spinning it around and like, hey, let's go. So pay particular attention to that, please. And so the warning with a yellow card, she'll show you. And then the 30 seconds remaining, and then that grumpy old red card is there. That means you are done. And then that time expired. I saw it like 3 or 4 times, and she was like showing me. So if you see that, that's no good. We want to kind of land the plane on it. And then the debate rounds. So let's get into it. In the first round, there will be a possible pool of 8 to 10 questions, like I said, on various topics. We'll draw from each of the race. Each candidate will be asked a question in round robin format. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Opponents may request to rebut response and debate in further. The moderators may accept or decline a rebuttal request. I don't think we did that tonight, have we?
We didn't.
Okay, so yeah, it's wide open. If you have something to say, tonight's your night. So I know Renee's like, oh my gosh, Woody. Okay, we will also then move to the next question in reverse order. The moderator may choose to ask the following follow-up question of you, choosing based on your time in the community and your knowledge in the question and issue, and then move on to the next question. The fun audience round, we had a ton of them. Hopefully we can get to them and the rest of them in this debate. The next round is, like I said, from the questions from the audience. The audience and the community have the opportunity to submit written questions to the head table, and they'll get it to us as fast as we can. So any questions, candidates? Pretty simple, right? Awesome. All right, let us begin. So the cards, high-low cards. I think I saw the cards in order. You guys signed them. We'll start off with Eric. Let's begin with your opening remarks, please, sir.
Thank you. I'm Eric Obermeyer, and I'm the Democrat running for Assembly District 39. I'm running because I believe Nevada should be a place where everyone has the opportunity to make a good living working at a job that they love. Now, I realize I'm in Douglas County, median age 55, although I think it's gone up a couple years. For sure, being retired can be a job that you love. But it all depends on opportunity. In order to fulfill opportunity, you need a good education, good health and health care. Plus, we need an affordable economy. And by that, I mean one in which you can put food on the table, a roof over your head, gas in the car, soccer shoes for the kids, and still have enough time and money left over to develop yourself, to fulfill your own opportunities.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Eric. All right, Blaine, you're up.
Good evening, all. I am Blaine Osborne. I am your current state assemblyman, and I am absolutely honored to get to represent you every day in the state assembly. First, I want to thank the Business Council for putting this event on. I want to thank all of you for attending this evening and for staying through the break. I think this is an incredibly important event to be at, and I'm sad that not all the candidates could join us here tonight. I was appointed, as many of you know, in November to represent you during the special session. It was my absolute honor, and I am very, very proud of what we accomplished during the special session. We rejected the Hollywood film credits. We passed the governor's crime bill, the health care bill, the school safety bill. We got incredible things done in only 1 week worth of work. I would really love the opportunity to continue doing that work, and I hope to earn your vote in the June primary.
Thank you, Blaine.
Thanks.
All right, Bridget, you're up.
I'm ready. Hi. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm grateful to come visit with you. I actually live in Lyon County in Dayton, and so I don't know a lot of you, so I'm just going to take a brief moment to introduce myself so you know me a little better. I am a conservative Republican, and I've lived in Nevada for 26 years. 21 of them were in Lyon County and the other 5 in Carson. I raised my 4 kids here. I love Nevada, love the beauty that it offers. I'm a big outdoorsy person, so I love living right here. I believe that when you live in a location, it's your duty to make a difference. And so I take that serious, and so I try and volunteer in my community to help make things better. So I spent over 11 years on the Lyon County School Board, helping with our schools. And I've also been a substitute teacher. I worked with the State Association for School Boards. I've spent many, many hours serving my community. So I look forward to the opportunity to continue serving you. Oh, I'm out of time. Thank you.
Perfect. Did we get the overtime? Thank you so much, Bridget. I appreciate it. Awesome. Had a little glitch in the system there. All right. Here we go. Question number 1. Go ahead, John.
You bet. This is for Blaine going first. Affordable housing continues to be a top issue in Nevada, with state leaders pushing to release more federal land for development. Do you support expanding access to federal land for housing, and what safeguards would you put in place for rural communities like Douglas?
I forgot to mention my opening. I'm a native Nevadan, born and raised here in Gardnerville, and I feel so incredibly blessed that my wife and I get to call the Gardnerville Ranchos home. There are unfortunately not a lot of people that get that same opportunity, especially our police officers, our firefighters, our teachers, nurses. A lot of these service members in our community find it very, very difficult to be able to afford a house here. I am very supportive of Governor Joe Lombardo's efforts in this regard. I think he is doing a great job in trying to get some of those federal lands released. As you know, Nevada has more federal land than any other state in the union, and I think it's time that Nevadans control Nevada's land.
Thank you. Bridget, affordable housing continues to be a top issue in Nevada, with state leaders pushing to release more federal land for development. Do you support expanding access to federal land for housing, and what safeguards would you put in place for rural communities like Douglas?
Thank you. I actually really think that we should protect our federal lands. They provide places for us to go and enjoy. And so while I do know there's an affordable housing crisis, I think we can use other means to do that. I do work for actually Nevada Rural Housing, and we have many programs. We have down payment assistance and different things. So I think that we could fund grants and different programs through the state, through the housing division, to help with this. Also, I do want to say that I support local control, and so those measures are important to me. I wouldn't want to take over how you guys govern your county, but I do think that we do have an affordable housing crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. And Eric, affordable housing continues to be a top issue in Nevada, with state leaders pushing to release more federal land for development. Do you support expanding access to federal land for housing? And what safeguards would you put in place for rural communities like Douglas?
Yes, I do support that. There is quite a bit of federal land which is suitable for expansion into housing adjacent to urban areas. However, there's also a lot of federal land there's reasons why nobody's living there. And I absolutely support that but only if the proper environmental studies are followed and the proper decisions made to make sure that the land is suitable for housing development, and that it doesn't cause any unintended consequences in turning the land over.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, we're on federal lands. We might as well. Again, it's a hot topic for me, especially in grazing and stuff, but we won't get into that just yet, but we'll dig into it a little bit. Question number 2, and it's going to be for Bridget. Start out of the gate. I'll give you guys a heads up. A new federal land proposal would transfer thousands of acres in local control while balancing conservation development. What role should the state play in shaping how these lands are used, and how do you balance economic development with the environmental and tribal protection?
Ooh, good question. Well, like I said earlier, I do believe in local control. So the counties where that's happening, I think that they definitely need to have a voice in this process. You need to be part of the process if that was to happen. It's interesting to me that we live in such a great place that everyone wants to move here. However, we do need to protect our federal lands, and I feel like as an assembly person, the guardrails I would put in place is to make sure that the people that live here and are vested in this have part of the conversation.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eric, you're up out of the chute. I'm going to read the question again. A new federal land proposal would transfer thousands of acres in local control while balancing conservation and development. What role should the state play in shaping how these lands are used? And how do you balance economic development with environmental and tribal protection?
Well, environmental development needs to be balanced with environmental and tribal.
Yes, tribal
yes,
protections.
environmental
Yeah,
and tribal interests. To make sure, obviously, with the environmental studies that you aren't creating any unintended consequences that cause adverse things in the environment. If there's a tribal question, I would say, I'm impressed that the Washoe have now gotten, I think they added something like 2,500 acres to their tribal control land. So that's a pathway to follow. The other thing to bear in mind is that under the treaties, some of the treaties, I don't know if the Washoe even have a treaty, but some of the land is still reserved for their use. And so to get back to your original thousands of acres, I would have to know where they are or what purposes. I'm certainly not for simply. I stopped. I got a red card.
Perfect. Go ahead and finish your thought.
I certainly would be opposed to simply turning thousands of acres over without a good reason.
Perfect, thank you. And Blaine, you want all the question? We'll do it again. All right, a new federal land proposal would transfer thousands of acres to local control while balancing conservation and development. What role should the state play in shaping how these lands are used, and how do you balance economic development with environmental and tribal protection?
Yeah, great question. I'm generally supportive of the lands bill currently in its current form. I think this is an area where Nevada has shined in striving that balance over the years. And as a constitutional conservative Republican, I believe that a government closest to the people is the best government. I think the state legislature can do a lot better job supporting our counties, our county commissioners, whom we just heard from, in being able to strive that balance. Additionally, I think we have great relationships with our tribes and would look to foster and continue those moving forward.
Thank you.
Move on to the next question. And Eric, this one's for you. We start with you. As development expands in northern Nevada, should water availability be a deciding factor in approving growth? And should the state impose stricter limits on local development approvals tied to water supply?
Yes, and probably yes. What's really important is this is all under the purview of the state engineer. And in my mind, in my opinion, unfortunately, the governor just fired a state engineer who based his decisions on science and the law, and he replaced him with another fellow. The original guy was replaced because he got crosswise with mining and other special interests. The new fellow, we'll have to wait and see how he works out. He's a principal at a company called RCI, which I have worked with in years past doing cultural resources. They are the gold standard of that kind of stuff in the state. So we'll see how that works out. I think it's really important that the growth be controlled, the use of water be in control, but controlled on the basis of science and the law and not politics.
Same question for Blaine. As development expands in northern Nevada, should water availability be a deciding factor in approving growth? And should the state impose stricter limits on local development approvals tied to water supply?
Yes, of course, and I think this is an area where Douglas County is an example to the rest of the state. I think I'm a big supporter of our conservation easements here in the county, and Douglas has done a terrific job with that. I think Douglas helps manage those aquifers better than most counties in the rest of the state. And I think we've done terrific work through the Carson Subwater Conservancy District.
Very good. Bridget, same question. As development expands in northern Nevada, should water availability be a deciding factor in approving growth? And should the state impose stricter limits on local development approvals tied to the water supply?
Thank you. I absolutely agree with these gentlemen. It doesn't even make sense to have housing development and commercial development when there's no water. I don't even know why that's a concept to me. That just makes no sense. But I definitely agree. We need to keep limits on it. We need to keep our eye on our water supply. We have a limited water supply here in Nevada. It's very arid and dry. Apparently Douglas is a great example of this, so I would really love the opportunity to sit down and learn more about this topic, but at first glance, absolutely, it makes sense.
Man, you guys are doing really good. I was waiting for a rebuttal in between there. I like just saying that word, apparently. All right, so this one's near and dear to me. I know I go to a lot of 17 counties, and I see a lot of rurals, right, kind of being left out of the mix. So, but this drives really something. The next question. So be ready to go, Blaine. You're out of the chute there. Rural counties specifically often argue that they are underfunded compared to urban areas. How would you ensure this district receives their fair share of state funding for roads, schools, flood control, and infrastructure?
Yeah, great question. In my other role, I get to serve as the president of Nevada Rural Hospital Partners, so I get to travel across all 17 counties in the state. I spend a lot of time out in our rural counties, and so know these issues very well. I think we need an absolute fighter in Carson City, somebody that will be an advocate for our rural counties. I'm going to just touch on the school district funding for a moment. Currently, the per pupil funding plan in the state is broken. It is working in such a way that property taxes out of our rural counties are all being collected and redistributed on a disproportionate basis to Clark County and urban Washoe. And that led to a $4.5 million budget cut in Douglas County School District this year, led to a $2 million budget cut for Lyon County. We can absolutely go back to the legislature and fix that. There is a hold harmless provision in law. The money is already budgeted in the education stabilization account. We just need to tweak it in order to make sure that Douglas County receives these dollars.
Thank you. And then Bridget, you're up for that question. I'll reiterate it. Rural counties often argue they are underfunded compared to urban areas. How would you ensure your district receives their fair share of state funding of roads, schools, flood control, and infrastructure?
Yeah, great question. whenever money's tied into something, it's always becomes a sticky subject. So of course, I too have had a lot of experience at the schools. There are a different weighting in the Pew Purple funding formula for frontier schools and rural schools. I don't see why that can't also be used for infrastructure and roads in rural counties where, of course, lacks tax base, and so it's actually more expensive to run rural counties and schools because there's less coming in. And so I think that the state could do something where they allocate separate monies to rural and frontier areas for those needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eric. Rural counties often argue they are underfunded compared to urban areas. How would you ensure your district receives their fair share of state funding for roads, schools, flood control, and infrastructure?
Well, it would help to be the member of the majority. Otherwise, I think standing up for northern Nevada, standing up for rural Nevada would be paramount for me, because that supersedes party involvement. What's good for northern Nevada, what's good for rural Nevada is something that we need to fight for. There's a I believe Assemblywoman Mosca sponsored a bill which basically it created a special fund for rural school districts to draw upon when, like in White Pine County, they're just tapped out and they just can't get any money. So we should look at doing something like that on a larger scale, because listening to your discussion about the stormwater problem, there are plenty of, I think we need to rethink this relationship between counties and the state, and there's no reason why the state can't fund more infrastructure in the county.
Perfect, thank you. Appreciate that. So we're in schools, go ahead.
Okay. We'll start with Bridget. The question is, with ongoing debate over education funding, teacher pay and outcomes, budget shortfalls, and failing districts, what reforms would you prioritize to fix the current situation in the 2027 session, and how would you reach across the aisle to get it done?
Oh, good question. This is a great topic. So there are a lot, I'm a process person, and so for me, I think we do have a new pupil-centered funding plan. It's different than the old one. Is it perfect? No. So my goal would be to go in and look at the process. I believe that we can tweak things to make it better. We can continue to fund that so that our teachers can have a great living. They don't make a lot, let's be honest. Let's make teachers a profession that people want to go into that can sustain. There's unfunded mandates that cause problems at the districts that take money away. There's a lot of reporting that goes on that perhaps it's not necessary any longer, that can cut down on costs in districts. There's a lot of things we could do to tweak the current systems. So, yeah.
Thank you. Eric, same question to you, which is, with ongoing debate over education funding, teacher pay, and outcomes, budget shortfalls, and failing districts, what reforms would you prioritize to fix the current situation in the 2027 session, and how would you reach across the aisle to get it done?
Well, I obviously agree with Blaine that the pupil-centered funding plan is problematic. I wouldn't blame it all on that policy. So we do need tweaks of it. For example, there's a 5% decline, which is the threshold for being held harmless. There's a census thing where you need to take this. We need to take the census for the schools at the beginning of the year, not quarterly, so that districts don't get dinged for falling enrollment. But that is a fundamental problem, is that everywhere in the state, especially here, the enrollment is going down. We need to get the data on why that's happening. It could be just declining birth rates, people moving away, people not being able to afford to live here. The districts have to look hard at why parents are going to homeschooling, private schools, or charter schools. They need to, examine that. And then finally, the whole thing just needs more money. The formula doesn't mean much if you don't have enough money.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I can't get a rebuttal out of you guys. I agree with him. That's amazing because, I mean, at the end of the day, the per pupil funding, I know that's a hot topic, and I really appreciate you really digging into it because it's just ludicrous, especially for, taking away a full budget, Ely, Nevada or something. It's crazy. So I really, really appreciate that. Drives home. I had to do a shout out. My wife's a vice principal. So good job, you guys. Next.
Hey, Blaine,
Oh, there
Not
is?
necessarily a rebuttal, but I
Yeah.
didn't get to answer
Comment.
that question.
comment. Yeah, Blaine,
Okay, go-
same question. With
Yep.
ongoing debate
Oh,
over,
I thought you did.
over education funding, teacher
Yes.
pay and outcomes, budget shortfalls in failing districts, what reforms would you prioritize to fix the current situation in the 2027 session, and how would you reach across the aisle to get that?
Absolutely. See, you only thought I answered that question because
Oh, you
I
did.
addressed it a little
Gotcha,
early.
gotcha.
So, no, I appreciate the opportunity to respond. We've touched on the per pupil funding plan and the changes that need to be made there. One of the things I wanted to mention is, though, over the last 2 legislative sessions, the state has passed millions of dollars in funding for teacher raises. The problem with that is the legislative majority, the Democrats in the majority, restricted that funding to go only towards salaries. And what it did was put our rural school districts especially in a bind, not being able to help cover the PERS retirement contributions. That has contributed significantly to our budget shortfalls this year.
Perfect. God, I messed that one up. Oh, we were doing good.
No, we're
Ready to go.
fine.
All right. Next one is for Eric. Let's hop out of the schools and jump right into the use of tax incentives to attract. So the state continues to use tax incentives to attract industries like the film, manufacturing, but critics question the return on investment. Do you support these incentives, and how would you ensure the benefit rural economies, not just the urban centers?
I'm skeptical about tax abatements. I understand how important they were to get the ball rolling at TRIC, but I think that they've now become just sort of another box to check with corporations asking for tax abatements. I think that I think the program needs to be looked at more carefully, and maybe even each abatement needs to be approved by the legislature so that we don't have administrative offices just making sure they fulfill various requirements. But yeah, I really think that the program needs to be re-examined. We need to be much stricter, and we really need to have good, solid data showing that an abatement actually pays off in the long run.
Thank you. All right, Blaine, I won't skip you this time, I promise.
Appreciate that.
All right. The state continues to use tax incentives to attract industries, like I said, the film and manufacturing, but critics, like I said, was questioned to return on what is the return of ROI? Do you support these incentives, and how would you ensure the benefit rural economies, and just not the urban centers?
Sure. I think each one of these tax abatements, tax incentive, economic development deals needs to be looked at on an individual basis. Some of these have worked. You look at TRIC and the impacts that Tesla, Panasonic, the Gigafactory have done, and what that's meant now to Story County. However, I just got to vote on this in the last special session in November, and the film tax credits is the perfect example of this, where we had a deal that I understand entirely the proponents' support of, that they were working to try to bring some jobs to the state of Nevada and attract a new industry. However, I did the math, and I had big problems with what that showed us. We would face hundreds of millions of dollars in shortfalls in a few short years if that deal went through. And so I listen to my constituents, to listen to all of you during the special session. That's what I'll always do. I voted no on that, and we actually defeated it.
Thank you. All right, Bridget. The state continues once again to use tax incentives to attract industry like film and manufacturing, but critics question the return on investment. Do you support these incentives, and how would you ensure the benefit rural economies, not just urban centers?
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they offer tax incentives to create jobs for people to move here, which is good, essentially. But as I looked at it, I thought that they offer a lot. There's a lot of tax incentives. Does it need to be that high? And I don't really think they should be able to sell their tax incentives. They should have them for that company. It serves that purpose. And as far as return on investments, I would be interested in finding out if there's a way that we could hold them accountable to that as our investment in their company. So those are a couple of things I think I would like to think about as far as tax abatements. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Yes,
Rebuttal, I suppose.
amazing. We got our first rebuttal. Nice. All right, go ahead.
And it's not really a rebuttal. I would have voted against it too. But I think what we have to bear in mind too is with these corporations like Sony and other large corporations that are asking for these abatements, is that during the last 2 tax bills which were passed by the federal government, these large companies were given the farm. So they don't need our help anymore.
Anyone else want to comment?
Sounds to me like I've won my opponent's support, so thank you.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Is this a first?
Kidding.
What are we doing
Great.
here, Renee?
Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Oh, that's a major feedback. That was like for me. All right. Go ahead, you're up there.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question that just came in, and I'll start with Eric.
Oh, wait, we have to do number 8, sorry.
Oh, we have,
Yeah,
okay.
we can't
Do-
go out of
Before we go
order.
into
I'll be in
these,
so much
got
trouble.
it.
Oh, my gosh.
None from the crowd yet,
Yeah,
okay.
Number 8.
We'll start with Bridget. Recent legislation has addressed voter ID, mail ballots, and primary election access. Where do you stand on balancing election security with voter accessibility, and what changes would you support?
All right, so I have thought about this one. I do, in a sense, like the mail ballots because it allows a lot of people to be able to vote. However, there does need to be strict control on when you register to be able to receive those ballots. You should have to prove that you are a citizen and that you are a resident of the state of Nevada. So I think you can do both. You can increase voter identity proof that you are able to vote here in Nevada, as well as providing people the opportunity to have a mail-in ballot should they not be able to physically come and attend.
And Eric, same question. Recent legislation has addressed voter ID, mail ballots, and primary election access. Where do you stand on balancing election security with voter accessibility, and what changes would you support?
Well, the question of voter integrity or election integrity, in my mind, is a moot point. We have election integrity. If there were problems, Stacy Lundgren up in Lyon County or Amy here in Douglas County would have told us about it a long time ago. So these ideas of changing, of let's all vote on one day, let's use paper ballots and make an X on it, no more mail-in ballots, that's a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. In terms of like, for example, I would vote for the ballot measure, the voter ID ballot measure, not so much because of the photo ID part, but because, and I know this is going to be contested, but by that measure, if you're voting by mail, you can identify yourself by the last 4 digits of your driver's license, your social security card, or your voter ID.
And Blaine, same question. Recent legislation has addressed voter ID, mail ballots, and primary election access. Where do you stand on balancing election security with voter accessibility, and what changes would you support?
Great question. I think this is one of the biggest issues that we're going to talk about in the next legislative session, primarily because in November, voter ID is going to pass again. It passed with 74% support in the last election, and I expect it to pass again this November, and legislators will have to implement it. One of the biggest challenges I have with election integrity right now is the automatic voter registration system through the Department of Motor Vehicles. I don't think it was anybody's intent when Motor Voter passed for the DMV to re-register you to vote every time you re-register your car. It's also come with great expense to our county clerks, who I'm working with actively on legislation for the next session. I think I too want to give a shout out to Stacy and to Amy. You've seen the new ballot machine. If you haven't, get over there and take a look at it. It has the best of both worlds. It is a paper ballot that can be counted electronically, not connected to the internet, it's very safe and secure. These are the issues, these are the measures we need to pass in the state legislature.
Next.
Perfect. Way to go. All right,
yeah,
we made
very
it.
good.
We made it to the final question, but I added a little bit on there because I can't leave the agriculture folks out. So, but we'll go with the first part, and we'll start off with Eric. Why are you the best candidate? What is your number one priority for Douglas County if elected?
I am the best candidate because of my life experience. I've worked in cultural resource management, which meant dealing with the government, dealing with bureaucracy. I've been active in my local community as part of the Silver City Advisory Board, and that's taught me about dealing with government, dealing with bureaucracies, etc. What was the second part?
Priority for Douglas County if you're elected. So why are you the best candidate?
Okay,
and what
and,
is
and,
got it?
actually my priority is to open the primaries to nonpartisan voters. I have a simple proposal. If you're a registered nonpartisan, your ballot will include a slate of Republicans and Democrats. You pick which one you want to fill out and turn in, just like always, either by mail or in person. I believe that that's important because, and you'll just have to wonder.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Blaine, why are you the best candidate? What is your number one priority for Douglas County
Sure.
if you stay in your position?
Appreciate that. Again, I'm the only native Nevadan born and raised here, and absolutely blessed to call Nevada home. I have more legislative experience than any of the candidates in this race, having worked in the state legislature now since 2009 as staff, as an advocate for rural hospitals in the state, and now as a legislator for the last 6 months. It's my honor to represent you. One of the biggest priorities that I have for Douglas County is for the residents of Lake Tahoe, but this applies to the whole county. Our homeowners, especially at the lake, are having a very difficult time getting fire insurance due to the threats of fire in the Tahoe Basin. I get to sit on the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Oversight Committee, and that is one of my biggest priorities for Douglas County in the upcoming session.
Thank you. All right, Bridget, why are you the best candidate? What is your number one priority for Douglas County if you're elected?
All right, well, I have years of experience on a board. Being on a school board is actually incredibly difficult. We oversee multi-million-dollar budgets. We make very difficult decisions regarding, our kids. We oversee a lot of projects. I have spent years and years and years reviewing policy, amending policy, enforcing policy. This could transfer straight over to the state. I've also been on the Nevada Association of School Boards on their legislative committee for years, and I have read hundreds of bill draft requests. I've been to a ton of hearings down at the legislature, so I'm not unfamiliar with that area, and I've had a lot of experience dealing with difficult decisions and working with people, and I'm not unfamiliar with that, and I'm prepared to keep doing that at this time for rural Nevada and not just for schools. And my top priority would be continuing to work with education. That is a deep part of me that I really think is important. Our children are our future, and we really need to address the declining enrollment and the funding. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, this is the final question. And we'll start off with Blaine on this one, and then we'll go to Bridget and then Eric. What would be your agriculture support in your district?
What would be my agriculture support?
Yeah, what is your, I don't know, it just came,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest treasures that we have in Douglas County is our ranches. I have been grateful and blessed to be able to work very closely with Senator James Settlemyre over the years. I've been exposed to the ranch and agriculture industry in the state, and so I'm a big supporter of agriculture, and I think we need to do more in our universities and colleges in the state to help support ranching and agriculture. I know I've worked with Denise Baronio, the Office of Outdoor Recreation. We've talked about some of these internships and different college programs that we can support in the upcoming legislative session to help with these kind of things.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Bridget, same question.
All right. Yeah, so oddly enough, I was born in Idaho on a dairy farm, and so I actually, I love agriculture. So when I was thinking about this, it made me think about Smith Valley, which is not in my district. However, as a school board member, we have an ag program that's really robust out there. And I think that we should start young and introduce more kids to ag programs so that they can learn to appreciate agriculture and see the value in that so that they can work with us in the future to protect our agriculture. I would be very interested to learn more about the subject. I love to ask questions and don't mind saying when I don't understand something or know something, so I would be really curious to learn more specifically about the agricultural issues.
Perfect, thank you. And then Eric, the last question.
Well, my familiarity with agriculture comes from where I grew up in southern Idaho. Our neighbor was a serious farmer, had 500 pigs at one time or another. They had a boy that was the same age as me, so going to play with him meant doing chores. As far as specific things to help agriculture here, in general, how about making that $22.99 a pound rib steak? How about transferring some of that $22.99 a pound to the guys that raised the cows? And another thing, I do not have the details at my fingertips about just how we do that. But another thing to think about too in our area is the impact of climate change on our irrigation system and depending on the snowfall in the mountains. So we need to make sure that our reservoir systems can handle the cyclical droughts and moisture, and also that the irrigation systems are efficient.
Thank you so much. I threw a wild card in there for you guys. You did amazing. You're like, we support agriculture, but we needed to hear it from the industry, and we really appreciate that. There is agriculture that happens in the state of Nevada and as well in your district. So thank you guys for those comments. So now we're moving to audience. We're getting there. We're almost got the plane landed on that. So I have a audience question, and this is for anyone. And if you feel the need to jump in it and get it first, go ahead. I'm not going to hold you accountable in order. So it says here, Lyon County is 22% public land. Douglas is 65% public land. What will you do to protect, conserve, and steward the land while protecting outdoor recreation? Who wants to jump on it?
I'll start.
Thank you.
You know, I read through your 5-year strategic plan for your county commissioners, and you have a really great goal in there to increase your outdoor recreation, to bring money in for all the things that you need. And I think that this is a tough balance, right? You want to protect your lands, and you also need to bring in revenue. So I would think that it's, up to local control about how they want to do that, because that's where the people live. Yeah, so public lands, that's it. Thanks.
I'll jump on and just say I again jumped the gun a little bit early on this question as well. I already mentioned Ms. Baronio and the work they're doing at the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation, which is an incredibly fast-growing industry in the state. They're making incredible progress with dark sky certifications. There is so much we can do to help protect those lands and protect the beauty that is rural Nevada, and that is what I plan to do is if you give me the honor to be your assemblyman again after November.
Thank you. Yes, take us.
Well, the protection is, if you're talking about public lands, that's normally federal land. Federal lands are, at least theoretically, subject to pretty serious environmental impact studies. But the key thing is in dealing with that is that we, the citizens, have to show up at the various hearings, have to make statements, have to join organizations that kind of ride herd over some of these environmental studies.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We got a ton of them. We got a stack we got to go through. So hang in there. Go ahead, Jacques.
Yes, I'll start. Let's see. I'll start with Bridget. This is a school question. Outcomes for education standards was not addressed. How would your education standards and teacher performance, and it ends there, but it sounds like a general question about standards and performance, and how do you work to both enhance the standards for teachers and the outcomes with students?
Hello? Okay, sorry, I thought it was off for a minute. Yeah, great question. It comes back down to accountability, right? How are we holding people accountable to meeting the standards? Interestingly enough, last session, the legislature, put in the auditors to come audit the school districts. Right now, I think it's Clark and Washoe and the Charter School Authority. I do know that they have some of their information out already on their website regarding charter schools, and the rest is supposed to come in August. I feel like it will be a very interesting read to see what they found, that we will have data, hard data, instead of just hearsay or, there's a million different opinions on accountability and teachers. So I'm interested in seeing what that says.
Very good. And I'll ask the same question of Eric. For education standards were not addressed, how would you support education standards and teacher performance?
I think I more or less defer to Bridget, the school board member. I think one thing in terms of evaluation, I believe in my experience with my wife as a retired teacher, my daughter teaches in Minneapolis, one thing to maybe back off on a little bit is evaluation through testing, and go more with teachers. Teachers are the ones familiar with the student, and they can evaluate them. They don't have to take a test to do that.
Very good. Blaine, how would you support education standards and teacher performance?
Yeah, I think this is another great area where local control is the answer. Just last week, Douglas County School District was recognized once again for being the top performing school district in the state of Nevada. Douglas is always in the top 1 or 2 each year in the rankings, and so Douglas County has it figured out. We're doing a good job of it here. We need to trust our administrators, our school board, our superintendent, and everybody involved there in order to continue doing that work.
Very good.
All right, this is a good one. All right, we'll start off with Eric. Name one regulation you would eliminate or change in your first term.
Good.
A regulation?
Yes, regulation you would eliminate or change in your first term.
The one that says you can't hitch your horse to the hitching post for more than 6 hours in a row.
I love that one. That one's good. Yeah, we do have antiquated regulations, no doubt about it. I love it. We got.
I'm sorry. I am at a loss. No.
Okay.
I am not up to regulations. Other than I will tell you, regulations normally exist for a reason, and they shouldn't be dismissed. They are not the source of our business problems. But of course they need to be looked at and analyzed.
Perfect, thank you. We'll go to Blaine.
Sure.
Name one regulation you'd eliminate or change in the
Sure.
first term.
So I'm going to assume by regulation they also are implying legislation as well. But I will say Governor Joe Lombardo signed an executive order, I believe it was executive order number 3, from the first couple of days that he took office, to eliminate regulations in the state of Nevada and put a freeze on all new regulations. So we've done a very good job at stopping new regulations in the state and keeping that under control. As far as legislation goes, one of the bills that I plan to run in the next legislative session, and it just coincidentally, there happens to be a great article in the Nevada Independent about it today, you can read about it, is the concept of resign to run. One of the things that's important to me holding office is that our elected officials, if they plan to seek other office in the middle of their term, they should step down from that position. They should resign, and because at that point when they're on the campaign trail, they are not doing the work of the job that the job requires. And then you get into some conflicts of interest and some money issues. And so resign to run is a bill that I plan to run next legislative session.
Thank you. Sounds like it's a little bit more cleaner process. Thank you. Bridget, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, regulations regarding unfunded mandates, these touch so many different aspects of our government and are really detrimental to a lot of programs. So I really think we need to look at unfunded mandates and whether viable, whether, you know, important enough to enforce, to make people do. Also, I think as far as, I'm going to run back to schools for a minute, I think we went way far one direction with student behavior and allowing really extreme forms of student behavior in schools. We're coming back this way a little bit, which is great, but I think that we need to take another look at how we hold students accountable. Our teachers don't want to work in unsafe conditions. So that's really important to me to help them want to stay.
All right. Was there any, did you have any, Jacques?
Nope.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, you want to close this out then?
Yeah. Should we have closing remarks by the candidates?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the
Bridget, we'll start with you. Closing.
Perfect.
We
First
appreciate
of
the
all,
audience staying with us.
yes, thank you for being here. It's a late night. I appreciate it. Although I haven't served as an actual legislator, I really feel that I have a very strong work ethic. I don't do anything halfway. And so I put all of my energy into doing that. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to work with other people. I really think that we need a balance in the extremeness that's going on. I don't appreciate all of the extreme opinions out there and all the bashing that's going around. And so to me, I feel like we need common sense, we need logic, and we need people that are willing to work to get something done. And that's how I operate. And so I really feel like I could do a good job for you. I'm willing to work hard and hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Blaine.
Great.
Closing comments.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank the Business Council for putting this on, for all of you for being here today. I think one of the biggest issues in this race currently is respect for the voters. I think if you're a candidate standing up here running for office and you're committing to a 2-year term, you should be able to fill out that 2-year term. In that respect, I want you to know how high regard that I hold this position in. It is an absolute honor of a lifetime to get to serve you in the state legislature. I am incredibly grateful to be endorsed by Governor Joe Lombardo, by the Lyon County Republican Party, the Nevada Republican Assembly, the Professional Firefighters of Nevada, the Nevada Young Republicans, Assemblyman Wheeler, who was here before, Senator Titus, Senator Settlemyer, so many of the trusted Republicans that we know and love. I am grateful to have their support in this race. But what means most to me is earning your support, your endorsement in this race. In that regard, I am asking for your vote. I would love the opportunity to continue serving you in this role. I look forward to meeting all of you and appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
Eric, your closing comments.
Yes, and thank you, of course, to the Business Council of Douglas County. Thank you, Renee, for putting this all together, and Jacques and Woody. It was a pleasure. And thank you all, of course, for being here. My wife Meg and I moved to Silver City 34 years ago. We built a house and raised a daughter. And I was fortunate enough to have a job that I loved. I was a field archaeologist. I began as a trade with a field archaeologist. I moved into cultural resource management, and then I had my own business of writing books and other things about history and archaeology. But I had many jobs in between because archaeology was not necessarily steady work. These included being a janitor working in a phosphate fertilizer factory, making pallets in a pallet factory, dishwasher, and those are only the ones that I can remember. Those were what you would call ordinary jobs, and I lived in that time an ordinary life. So I get it. Ordinary people send their kids to public school. Ordinary people worry about being overwhelmed by medical bills. Ordinary people want opportunity. The job of a state legislator is to make all this easier.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate everybody staying here and listening to these candidates. And just it's important what we have. Like Renee was saying, I do spend a little bit of time at the Ledge and listen to a lot of that. And I really appreciate, like I said, you guys being here, waiting, listening to my rants every now and then. And I'm going to get in trouble again, but I would love to do a round of applause for these candidates. Thank you.
Here, here.
Thank you. And they'll be here. We still have a few commissioners that are still here. Take a look at the voting booth. It's amazing. Like I said, I did it, no problem. Thanks again. That's a wrap.
Yep, we applaud all of you for staying.
Thank you.